This week, we're hitting the clip. It is Martinsville, baby. We are going short track racing. Bumping, banging, rubbing is racing. You're going to get all of it and all the excitement we're going to break down for you on the back road. So stick with us and come along.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Backroad. This is In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. Elliot Hicks, Seth Woolcock, Rod Villagomez with you guys as we are headed to the Martinsville Speedway down in Virginia, Seth.
Hey, man, excited to be back with you in the South tonight in the three-banger. Martinsville, always one of my favorite tracks growing up, so happy to be heading back there to the Paperclip. Got a pretty good race there last fall, so hopefully we can kind of follow that up here. And been a pretty up and down season so far for us on the program. Like, I feel like every week we're losing a little bit, we're gaining a little bit, kind of switching back and forth. I can tell you one thing, Elliot, there will be no losing a little bit or profiting just a little bit. We're pushing our chips in. We're going all in on some absolute gainer of lines. Excited to share those with you and the IBT family tonight, man.
No doubt about it. And Rod, glad to have you on this week as well. I bet you're excited for the Paperclip also. So if Jimmy Johnson wins in your time here too.
Oh, my God. Well, I tell you what, man, short track racing is always a blast because we've gone from road course racing to super speedway racing. We've had miles and a half. We've had miles and a half super speedways. Like, to get into short track racing again is going to be fun. And Seth, just like you said, this has been up and down. Josh Berry is good. Kyle Larson is good. Like, all up is down, left is right. And I'm looking forward to a track where you see all of that play out right in front of you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's going to be a good weekend. As we got Marcus in the chat here. First, as usual, we appreciate you, Marcus.
11:56 a.m., so morning time. He was in here. Let's go, brother. What's up?
He hops in. We got Stan here with us. Clear and obvious favorite, Ty Dillon wins. Funny that you mentioned that. I noticed I was looking at manufacturer odds in our Discord. Ty Dillon plus 45,000 top Chevrolet. I won't be talking about that in the parking garage props, but I did put the minimum 10-cent bet on Caesars on that. I thought it was funny. The part-timers, Burt Myers and Casey Mears, were ahead of a few full-time guys. So Ty Dillon not going to be your top Chevrolet, but certainly better than plus 45,000, I feel like. Anyway, Stan, thanks for hopping in. Kush here, Kyle Larson for the win. We already saw that. We don't need that again this week, do we? We saw that.
I'm good. I tried to fade him in my fantasy league last week. I was the only guy who didn't play him. Big mistake. I tried to zig when others was zagging. Did not go well.
We got Nick with us. What's going on, Nick? Shout out. And then we got who else? Last but not least, man.
Other Nick, yeah. What's going on, Other Nick? We got saying Seth, Elliot, hello, and also hey to his brother Rod. Rod, who's the older brother here? You or Nick?
It's me. I'm the oldest. I am actually the oldest of all three of my siblings. So that is why I have the superiority complex. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, little brother.
That explains a lot of things on this show too, then. Yeah.
Because I'm old enough to be everybody's dad. That's really what it is anymore. In this industry, I'm old enough to be everybody's dad. And it shows on days like this.
Well, hey, we're looking forward to a fun one tonight. We're going to look back in the rearview, of course, at our Homestead reaction and give you a news update as well. Then we'll give you the horizon forecast, break down everything that's going to be going on at Martinsville this weekend. And then, of course, our parking garage props to round it out. Cup bets, Xfinity bets, truck bets. Man, I love these triple header weekends. They're a lot of fun. And it's also a lot of fun over in the IBT Racing family. We got our Discord chat, exclusive weekly betting model access, and entry into our memorabilia giveaways, at least the heavy ones. We'll talk more about that in a minute. You get to be in the Discord chat with myself, with Seth, with Rod, with Ryan for my fantasy race, with all of our great members. Shout out to all our new members lately. Shout out to the fun Discord. Shout out to, I think it's Taco Boy 88 going to be at the races this weekend, Virginia native. The Paperclip's definitely on my bucket list for sure.
Oh, dude, I said it too. Like, first thing I'd be doing, I'm pulling up. We're getting some Martinsville wieners. We're doing a little food review. It's going on the channel. I can't wait. Like, that's something. It's a dream, man. That's like a fun one. And if you get good tires here, it's a good race. If you don't, it's kind of a shitter.
Yeah,
Hey, if anybody wants to sponsor a trip up, hey, we're always open to a sponsorship. Sponsor a trip to Martinsville for us.
No doubt about it. The spring's a little busy for us all, but maybe in the fall, I don't know, Seth. Maybe I'll have to convince you. Virginia, not terribly far from us here in Pennsylvania. A little further for Rod, but yeah, flight sponsor, and then Seth and I can make the drive.
Hey, Spirit Airlines, they'll get Rod out here. It might not be the best ride, but you'll get here, Rod.
You want me to get there?
Does Spirit even do cross-country flights? My God. Anyway, shout out to everyone listening too. Our audio version is now streaming on Apple Podcasts, soon to be on Spotify as well. We've got all of our 2025 content on there, a couple of our off-season episodes breaking down 2025 bets, as well as all of our race episodes. I just looked, and we're looking for reviews. Whether you love us, whether you hate us, doesn't matter. We want to get out there. We want you to tell us how you feel about the show. We want you to do that in all methods. And in exchange for reviews, we're going to bring back one of our, I think, Seth, you called it micro giveaways. So we've got here Josh Berry 2022 raced version diecast. Got the nice little base, the winner's card here. That's going to be a giveaway item to a random reviewer. Again, whether you leave us 5 stars or not, we hope you're going to leave us 5 stars. Yeah. At this point, I feel like if you're going to listen to us, you probably like what you're seeing, and we're grateful for that. The link for that is in the episode description, and we'll figure that all out in a couple of weeks.
Sorry, I was busy putting in a review so I can win. I like Josh.
Everyone's eligible. I'll throw one in. Keep it right
here. We'll still have our big, autograph memorabilia giveaways only to the IBT Racing family. Everyone who's over there in the Discord getting access to our betting model. But yeah, this is just kind of another way to incentivize you guys to listen, help us out. We just got on Apple. We've been doing the show for like 5 years, and I never, for whatever reason, thought to do a podcast for like an audio only version. We've always had an audio only version of our fantasy football podcast, and it was like, well, we could probably get to the top of the charts pretty easily because there's not a ton of NASCAR betting podcasts. There's Rods and there's a couple of other of our good friends out there, but it's kind of like we know most people in this space by now. So if you guys can go over there, link is in the episode description. Please rate, review us. It'll help very, very mightily. Make sure you guys subscribe over there too. So if you can't get us on Thursday and you're maybe in the car or something, can't watch too, just throw it over there on Apple. And Rod's the first subscriber. So Rod, you're in the pole position, my friend.
Let's go. I want that Josh Berry diecast.
We're hoping to be 1A, 1B right up there with the NASCAR gambling podcast there, Rod.
Hey,
this is at the top of the charts here. And we're thankful to everyone for tuning in. So let's go ahead and get to the start of the program as we look back in the review. So the Homestead Miami Speedway weekend was one ill-fated restart away from being the Kyle Larson bonanza. In the Truck Series race, we saw Ross Chastain, Corey Heim, Lane Riggs all race up front. Kyle Larson was as well, spun out late in the race, but stormed all the way back from the mid-20s to claim victory in the truck race. In Xfinity, Larson was the dominant performer, led upwards of 130 laps, I believe, wiped out by a late caution. Taylor Gray and Harrison Burton got together or something like that, and Justin Allgaier rallies to claim the checkered flag, his second straight in Xfinity. In the Cup Series, Ryan Blaney looked like he was going to wax the field. That was a dominant performance from that 12 car. Blows a motor, running third. You had Bubba Wallace and Alex Bowman both come tantalizingly close to the checkered flag. But who else but Kyle Larson, that long run, that run in the wall. He did it the best and ends up winning the Cup race as well. What an exciting weekend, Seth.
Man, this was one of those that I think I texted you like, hey, sorry for your loss. You're like, he's inevitable. Like, he is Thanos in this situation, dude. Yeah. Larson just all weekend, whether it was Friday with Corey Heim, his truck shutting off and all the craziness that followed with that, or whether it was almost getting it done in the Xfinity Series for a late caution, like Kyle Larson always just towards the front of these races. And I mean, heartbreaker for Ryan Blaney, who I think honestly, if all things are fair there, I think he probably wins. But great race.
Can you imagine the battle between Blaney and Larson at the end if it was those two? I mean, my God.
Yeah, it would have been excellent. And great racing all weekend long. Yep. I'll be honest, this was my first. I felt like I kind of just missed the mark on the outright department this week in the Cup Series. Really wasn't playing any outrights in the bottom ones and kind of went all in on Chris Bell. And ugly day for Chris Bell. I even doubled down with the top 10 line I found out there floating around on Sunday morning. So bad weekend for me, about down 4.5 units. But, Rod, we did hit a couple big gainers out there. Daniel Dye top 10. Let's go 8-1.
Hells yeah. Look, I was a blown engine and a pit stop spin away from a much better day. Josh Berry pretty much ruined it. I mean, that dude was looking so sharp last week, and it wasn't hard to pick him, right? It wasn't like it took a whole lot of genius to pick a guy that's red hot like Josh Berry, but the numbers were still right for that play, and it just kind of pissed me off. And then for Ryan Blaney, I mean, that's heartbreak, dude. When you see that smoke come out on a really fast car, Elliot, I think we did get robbed of a great Blaney Larson showdown there at the end of the race.
Yeah, it would have been great. The end of the race was all right for me, for sure, at least until we got to about 5 laps to go. I ended up winning more F1 bets than NASCAR bets. That tells you how my weekend went. I was also in the Berry top 10, didn't work out. Hit the Bowman top 10, hit the AJ Allmendinger top 10, and then hit a couple of – go ahead, Seth.
No, I was just saying on the AJ top 10, like that was a great play by you, and it was one of those, like, he was high on our model. He was 7th in our model, and we all were high on AJ last week. I played him in fantasy everywhere, and I was just – I said to you, I was like, I just can't bet plus 210 or whatever, plus 250 you got on that. And you're like, it's like, you won't do that, but you'll bet the Austin Hill like 2-1 top here to win. And so, yeah. And same with like Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece was a guy I had the top 4 ticket on. I was sweating out with 20-1 there. And all he had, I said, if Ryan Blaney has issues, Ryan Preece might be out here with a chance. And Chris Buescher ended up getting that top 4. But, you know, I should have just taken the top 10 with Dinger and with our guy Ryan Preece as well. Just kind of a learning lesson for me, Elliott, to like not be able to, not be afraid to drink that shallower top 10 market there on like guys who shouldn't be in it all the time.
Yeah, you only pay the juice if you lose. And Allmendinger, the stats were there. Glad to have made at least a little bit from that. And that's what I was saying was with my fandom glasses on is if Ryan Blaney has an issue that's anybody's race, and the 48 team ends up taking it. Closest that he's come to winning an oval race since Kansas in 2022. So after I got over the sorrow and the despair and the anger, and of course it has to be Larson. Larson is inevitable, and it's a good sign. For
Did you throw anything? Do you throw anything, or do you yell?
Oh, I was animated a little bit. I didn't throw anything.
Okay.
But it definitely gets animated. I appreciate my my landlord downstairs. He's either really soundproof the place well, or whatever. That's neither here nor there.
I like to Gronk spike the remote a lot. That like I don't throw it at the TV or anything like that, but sometimes it just a little Gronk spike, and it usually has something to do with William Byron wrecking someone that I'm on. So or Kyle Larson. So usually a Hendrick boy screwing me over is usually how that goes.
I'm trying to set a good example for my daughters, so I'll keep it to a minimum.
Yes, yes.
They got to also learn that stuff hurts, so you got to teach them the pain.
Life's a bitch, kid.
Yes. Josh Berry got hit on pit road. Yes, that's why we need a new TV.
Oh, fun times for sure. Any other thoughts on Homestead? Are we ready to break out the fast lap news here for the week?
Let's do it.
Cool. Yeah, not a super newsworthy week. One thing that I caught from Bob Pockris, it wasn't a big breaking news story, but he says that in the Cup Series, they're not expected to have teams choose among 2 versions, like a primary and an option, during a race again this year. So, of course, they're bringing back the same tire from last fall at Martinsville. They're probably going to use the Phoenix option tire as the main tire in the championship race, but we are not expecting another option tire weekend this year. I thought it made for some good racing, but definitely makes for some head scratching too. Any thoughts from either you, Seth, or Rod on this?
Well, I'll tell you this. I know that the option tire did provide a lot of fun, but I think that we still need a little more. I actually think we need a couple more this season to try to figure out. These teams need to learn it, right? F1 knows it. Indy knows it. Like, these guys are already used to changing tire options. And in fact, F1 has 3 options. So until NASCAR teams figure out how to make it work and it doesn't turn into a save all of your softs until the end, because that's when you're going to need it, right? They need to figure out how to play around with this. So I think we need a couple more. That way we get a bigger sample size. So I'm a little disappointed that we don't get it this season.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It wasn't like it was good for us. We were kind of on that day. It didn't really affect our cards as much, but I know for like the average gambler, it probably wasn't the best. So that's, kind of a good thing. And maybe they're just now going to roll out this option and be like, hey, this is what we're running on these short tracks. And we have quote unquote saved the short tracks, and like the intermediates have been fine for a while. So, not too worried about them, but overall, like I'm okay with this, but I really did like enjoy the 2 different compounds. Does this also roll out, Elliott, like the All-Star race too?
I'm guessing that's points race, I believe is the term they use. Could be messed with. I almost wonder if part of using the option tire was not only just about the strategy, but about making sure that the tire will work before we get to a point where if it doesn't work and you have a 2008 Brickyard 400 type race, or even last spring at Bristol, I feel like as fun as that was to watch, that's almost like, I don't want to say a doomsday scenario, but definitely something unexpected that I would say generally you want to avoid if you're a race team.
Yeah, that shit was crazy, man. I do not need that. That was a little bit too much. That's like the going too far side of it. Like when you get on like NASCAR 25 when that comes up and you just like tire wear 100%. You know what I mean? That's what
more like 200%.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that NASCAR 25 is going to be good. I'm thinking of investing in a next gen console just to mess around with.
Let's go. But hey, Elliot, maybe we'll start the streaming on the little iRace and console game streaming here on the site. Now you wouldn't want me not behind the microphone on the console. I can be even wilder, so you would not like that.
Well, please let me, because I don't get to let loose very often, and I'll definitely let loose on that.
There we go. All right, coming in the off season, NASCAR 25 game streaming. Let's do it.
Hot rod, baby. Let's go. Yeah, we'll test her out. We'll test the waters. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then Austin Hill is going to be coming back to the Cup Series for a couple races in the 33 RCR car. Darlington here in just a couple weeks. Chicago Street Course, Daytona in the summer, the second Bristol race and the second Talladega race. Still trying to work in some Cup experience for him. And Shane Van Gisbergen should probably watch out for that 33 when he comes. 2
questions for you, Rod. 1, will you be betting Austin Hill in the Cup Series at any of these tracks? And 2, do you think this signals potentially if Kyle Busch exits this summer, Austin Hill is going to slide into whether that's the 8 car or a different number of this team?
I think I'll answer both of those questions with the same answer. No. I honestly, to me, like Austin Hill is fantastic. He's one of those guys he's going to be the Justin Allgaier of the sport, right? He is good. He is fantastic in Xfinity equipment. You cannot doubt that at all. But anytime he's in Cup, it's just not the same. And then I know that RCR probably needs to shift in a different direction. I love Kyle Busch to death, but I don't see this working out with these guys anymore. It just doesn't seem to be the right fit like it used to be. But I don't know that Austin Hill is the answer. I mean, Jesse Love, on the other hand.
Right.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. That was the point I was going to make, was I think Jesse Love gets the next RCR open seat. He probably has more upside.
Well, who knows? They might have 2 seats open here soon enough if Austin Dillon's ready to hang. Like just being honest, like we've heard that rumor for 2 years now that he could potentially be going upstairs pretty quickly in that building. So, I mean, it makes some sense. I'll tell you what, though, like if he's out there for a top 20 at Daytona in that 33, like I'll be taking a gamble. I'll be taking a little bit of look. Like this ain't Beard Motorsports equipment that he used to be running out. It ain't the money laundering system. That's for sure.
Starting parts.
Certainly not a Beard car. Austin Dillon, I was catching up on some 12 questions interviews that Jeff Gluck does over on The Athletic. And I think Gluck asked him about it. He said, once I feel like that I can't win races anymore, or that we get the opportunity to get somebody who can run better than me, that'll be the time to start discussing stepping out.
I think you have him.
You might have him. Like you said, if Rowdy leaves and goes somewhere else, or if he runs a couple more years, retires, and you still have Hill and Love, promote them both to Cup, get a couple other Chevy guys, whatever top prospects there are in a couple of years in both of those Xfinity cars that run probably better than the Cup program.
Yeah, well, Jesse Love's going to win the ship and cash me a big 11-1 ticket on that, and then he's going to get promoted to Cup. That's what's going to happen, I'm hoping. Putting it out in the universe right now. Thank you, gambling gods. Let's go.
Well, off-season predictions starting early, March 27th here on the
All right.
Glad we've already planned out some off-season content. We got 2 episodes right there.
There you go.
Silly season in NASCAR streaming. But before we get there, we got plenty of races to break down, thankfully. And that includes Martinsville and the Horizon Forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
Definitely a chance of rain this weekend in Martinsville, which certainly could be interesting. We may get more than one tire used. We may get the damp tire or the rain tire used. In the entry list this week in the Cup Series, your 36 chartered cars, as well as Burt Myers returning in the number 50 for Maravet, and Casey Mears in the number 66 for Garage 66 there. The weekend schedule starts on Friday, of course, 2:05 p.m. truck practice and qualifying over on FS2. At 4:30, the CW app gives you Xfinity practice and qualifying. And then at 7:30 on FS1, we get the truck race, the Boys and Girls Club of the Blue Ridge 200. Stage lengths 50, 50, and 100 there. On Saturday, 2:05 on Prime, you get Cup practice and qualifying, and then at 5 o'clock on the CW, the Xfinity race, the U.S. Marine Corps 250. Your stage lengths there, 60, 60, and 130. We love a good Martinsville race under the lights. I'm excited for that. And then Sunday, it's the big show, 3 o'clock, FS1, the Cookout 400, 80, 100, and 220. Your stage lengths there.
I'm looking forward to it. I was zooming in because I was making sure you got the right logo because the Richmond one very, very close to this. You got had, Rod. You got had on your. I was gonna point that out right now. You got had on your thumbnail. I Google. I don't think I just Google like Cookout 400 day, and Rod, of course, being the internet warrior is, pops first up on the Google algorithm. Said he got had on this thumbnail. He got had.
Let me explain myself. Hold on. I gotta explain myself. So I'm going through my Canva, right? And I search Cookout, and I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. And so I put it in, and I didn't even realize that it was the Richmond one. And so Wednesday, I told Cody, I said, Cody, I'm so sorry. I totally made us look like amateurs. I put the wrong one on there, so I switched it out. So for those of you who see it now, it's corrected. But boy, I did that.
Rod could have got away with it, and you outed him, Seth. You bet.
I was gonna say that's a rookie Ty Gibbs type of move right there, Rod.
I need to retire. My editor needs to get fired. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. Someone's gonna be doing some quality insurance over there. That's for sure.
It's a tough world out there. I think in some years we even had races sponsored and called exactly the same thing multiple times. Of course, Cookout 400 was at Richmond. We've had the Worth 400 swapped around a bunch. I think Texas it was. Well,
we already had the fucking Cookout Clash. I mean, Cookout
Clash.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've been on this. Like, let us know in the chat. I really want to know. Do you guys like Cookout? I've only ever been there one time. I thought it was kind of mid. Rod, have you had Cookout yet?
I don't even know. No, I haven't, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't know if it's not here in the West Coast.
Okay.
I vehemently think you need to try it again, Seth, because that is my number one every time I am going south of the Mason-Dixon.
What's the order? Elliot? What's the order at Cookout? Give me what the best meal. What's the best one?
All right. So it definitely varies. I feel like you got to go with a burger. It's kind of an old classic. You know, I go with basic toppings, lettuce, tomato, onion. You can get all these things in a tray. So that's like your meal is what they call it.
Yeah. Yep.
You get a burger, then you can add some sides to it. This is a restaurant that has a quesadilla as a side option, chicken quesadilla. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Last time I skipped it.
I don't know if I'm going there.
I understand, but I went with some white cheddar cheese bites, as well as some hush puppies, and then you can got a variety of drink options. You know, they have, if you like iced tea. I'm not a big iced tea fan, but I like if you want to go with iced tea, they call it the huge tea. You get a big ass cup of tea. They got plenty of milkshakes, or you can just get a classic, Coke Zero. And it must be 45, 50 different kinds of milkshakes. You can get chicken sandwiches, chicken fingers. It's everything that you could ever want. And they're open through all hours of the night. So if you're at the races, you got a couple bevs in you. You can walk up to a Cookout, even say you got one within walking distance, or
they have a Cookout at Martinsville. Taco Boy, let us know. They got a Cookout down in Martinsville. We need to know.
I would imagine. I've had Cookout in the past month. I was down in North Carolina earlier in the month for other obligations.
That tracks.
You bet your ass we got some Cookout.
All right. Well, next time, since you love them so much, why don't you ask them to sponsor the fucking show when you go in there?
Let's do it. We can clip that right there. My Cookout order. Here's your Cookout item of the week on the background.
I think when I went there, I don't remember what I got, but it was a burger, but there's too much going on it. There's a little too much going on, I think.
Well, but you get to pick your own toppings, so I don't know how that would happen. But
let us know in the chat. Do you guys like Cookout? Is it overrated? I want to know.
I think they should have Cookout in all 50 states, and it would sell. I promise you.
Looking at this track in particular, moving away from Cookout the spots itself.
Yeah, you're making me too hungry, so I was about to leave.
I will tell you, there's not one within 1,000 miles of me.
Okay.
So
no, you get In-N-Out out there though, and In-N-Out's pretty good. So I don't know if it was quite as good as Cookout, but it was not bad.
Oh, come on, that's a bad take. It's not.
Well, then again, the only time I've had In-N-Out was in Arizona. It wasn't in California.
Yeah, the only time I had was when I was in Las Vegas, and I just went to that Planet 13 place out there. If you guys are familiar with, I think I talked about that. Great little spot out there, big in the world. Yeah. But okay, back to Martinsville here. This is a unique short track, a 0.526 mile paper clip, no primary comp. So we're looking primarily at Martinsville data. We did factor a couple comp races in though. New Hampshire of last year. I took, and this could be seen super biased, but I took the running position of last New Hampshire rather than the finishing order, because that race got super fucky. If you remember, rain was coming down. Michael McDowell was getting all crazy on us.
So that race though last summer, if there is rain in the forecast and they do think, okay, we're going to get some racing in on the damp tires, then you definitely should look at that, because that's the only time in the Cup Series that the damp tire has been used for an extensive period of time. But I do agree with not factoring in the model. Just saying it could be something to work in if they do call for rain on Sunday.
Still factored it in, but factored in the running position, not the finish, just because it got a little wacky. Yep. North Wilkesboro, we factored in that finish as well from the All-Star race last year as well. And then Bowman Gray from earlier this year, Elliot, because I think when we went there, we all said one of our biggest takeaways was, wow, this drove a lot like Martinsville.
Yeah, for sure. And those super short, tiny tracks with the tight corners, there are fewer and further between than we think in NASCAR. We're normally on the big 1.5 miles, things like that. So it definitely comps to Martinsville, even if they're shaped a little differently.
Let's talk some Martinsville trends, folks, and I got some brain busters for you. Joey Logano, he leads all the field in all-time average starting position, 8.438 in 32 races. Next-gen Martinsville polls, Kyle Larson, he's got 2 of them. Ryan Preece has 1. Chase Elliott has 1 as well. And looking at the race itself, the next-gen winners at the Ville include Ryan Blaney twice, William Byron twice, Kyle Larson once, and, of course, Christopher Bell once as well. Winners in the next-gen. Hendrick Motorsports has won this spring race 3 out of 3 times, 100% of the time since moving to the next-gen car. And then in the fall as well, Team Penske, they have 2 wins. JGR has 1 win. This was really interesting. Winners from in the next-gen. Front row, 0% of the time. Top 5, 16.7% of the time. Just once. Outside the top 10, the winner has come in the next-gen era at Martinsville 83.3% of the time. That's 5 out of 6 times, with the deepest in the field, Chris Bell, 2020 fall 20th. Rod, this was kind of a mind bender here, because this really felt like a big outlier. And to me, that said, okay, maybe I don't need to factor an average finish or average starting position, to our model as much, because I think whether you start in 15th, whether you're starting 20th, if you're one of these top dogs, you got good equipment, you know how to run this bottom line, you're going to be all right.
Well, I think that's also just concurrent with actual short track racing too, because there's a lot more passing that you can do, especially off of restarts, right? You can jump a ton of spots up on restarts. And so for that, you can definitely, it doesn't matter where you start for the most part, as long as you have good, clean pit stops, as long as you can get yourself into the front and position yourself in the front, all you are is one good dive bomb away from picking up 4 or 5 spots per time you go around those corners. So yeah, I'm with you too. And the thing about Joey Logano, you go back to that, it doesn't matter whether it's odd or even years. So this is a track where you can kind of throw away the odd and even year Joey Logano.
Well, another thing too is with the amount of laps at Martinsville, you still get the 400 laps in the spring and the 500 laps in the fall. Races in the Cup Series are getting shorter. You don't have very many of those 400, 500, 600 mile races. They're all getting chopped down. But here you still get that old school. You get 400 times around this place to figure it out. So that certainly helps too. If you don't start so well, you can really adjust to move your way up there.
Elliot, do you want to round out here with our iFantasyRace.com Asterisk Smart Driver of the Week before we get into Parking Garage Props? If you guys haven't already, check out iFantasyRace.com. Ryan and his entire gang over there helps power our betting model and projections each and every single week. And they also have a great Asterisk Smart article, which is a must-read every single time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This week's pick, Kyle Busch in the number 8. Definitely not an incident-free race last fall at Martinsville.
No.
Looked like a top 10 contender with about 100 laps to go, but the wheels came off quite literally, which led to an asterisk mark 28th place finish. He got burned by that early caution during the pit cycle on lap 60, really battled back, gets back on the lead lap, and logged laps in the top 10 until you get to lap 386 out of 500. He was up to P7 around lap 406 during a restart, running P10, lost the wheel under caution, and doomed him to a poor finish. So it's been a trend lately with Kyle Busch, not only last fall, but a little bit in this spring too, with the loose wheels and just pit crew stuff that you really shouldn't see.
I was hoping he'd rate out better for us in the projections, Rod, but he just isn't. But I will say, like, usually the guys who are doing good at road courses also traditionally do very well at these shorter tracks. We saw it with Shane Van Gisbergen back at Bowman Gray. He was a top 10 car there. And when we were just a couple weeks ago at Coda, Kyle Busch had an absolute rocket. He's 31-1. Any interest in Busch at all? There's definitely some value out there if you believe it. Our projections didn't, though, so it's hard to back him.
it's only frustrating because over the last few races at Martinsville, he has not been all that great in this car. And it's not for nothing. And then he's actually had some pretty decent runs. He's been fast this season, but the finishes haven't been there. And that's really what you're looking at, right? Can he sustain it? Can he finish where he's running? And then this season, it's been too hot and cold. I want to see him have some sustained success before I jump back on him.
Agreed.
And I wonder if part of him being a little lower in the Model 2, factoring in last year at New Hampshire, he crashed out and I don't think ran most of the time in the rain. So I don't know if the running position would factor him in for a whole bunch of running last or wherever he was running there or what. But
average running position, he was second to last in New Hampshire. So
right. So you had Busch go out when the rain happened by a spin, and you had Bowman not even make it to the rain because he blew something in the engine. So those guys probably at the bottom of that stat.
Martin's or North Wilkesboro stats not terrible last year considering the Ricky Stenhouse thing that happened, and then keep in mind too, like he is like the all-time GOAT at Martinsville, like Xfinity racing. I don't think that matters this weekend, but I mean his stats are off the chart. So if there are some things to like about Kyle Busch, but 21st in the projections, can't get too excited about him, but definitely an asterisk mark finish last year nonetheless.
Yep, asterisk mark finish, but someone who I think we've talked about for the last time tonight on this show. As we move into the odds for the week on this week's Parking Garage Props.
Giddy up!
In terms of our impressions of the books this week, we got a little more back, but I still think the books are kind of in March Madness mode. And I feel like we're still missing a lot of those extended kind of offerings that we would get that make things super duper exciting.
Yeah. It's just one of those times right now. Like you're not getting a ton. Last week was interesting because I was all over the matchups, had a really good matchup week. I really liked what we got offered. This week, I felt like all the matchups were like, right next to us in our projections. So there wasn't much value there for me. I will say like BetRivers came to fucking play. Like I felt like everyone else was kind of really fucking juiced, and BetRivers early in the week had some really great lines. So aside from BetRivers, not a lot out there. Like I barely saw any even like truck placements leading into tonight, Rod. Like there's not a whole lot out there. I think maybe ESPN's only place with truck placements right now.
I'm about to do an expose. So if my next documentary is why can't we get top 10s for trucks? It doesn't feel like it's that difficult to take a top 5 odd, slash it in half, and give it to you as a top 10.
True,
I mean, are you really going to lose? Okay, you may lose that much, but I'm just saying, like,
is it just a deal where they don't think that people will bet a minus 2,500 for a Corey Heim top 10?
I mean, true, but no one's betting the Gator minus 2,500 either. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, listen, there's guys that you can really, the fringe top, obviously you're not going to bet like a minus 2,500 for a Corey Heim, but look, there's guys that are just on the other side of that, like the Garcias, like Tony Brettinger. I would totally bet a top 10 on her every once in a while in the right circumstance. You know what I'm saying? Like,
maybe at Daytona. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, even still,
I agree.
That should be there.
It'll be there. Let's keep the faith.
Probably in the truck series this year. I mean, you could even bet Frankie Muniz for a top 10 once in a while. I think anybody but that 2 truck, I think you could potentially get a
Didn't you bet Frankie Muniz outright a couple weeks ago, you sicko?
Me, I didn't. Did Elliot? I don't
know.
No,
I think you did, Rod. I think we were at Atlanta or something.
Top 5.
Okay, still, don't be shitting on Frankie. Come on, that's our guy.
Hey, no, I would do it. I would.
Okay. I thought you said I wouldn't, but yeah.
Huge Malcolm fan. Let's go.
Coming back, baby. Let's go. Yeah, excited about that.
If we could sponsor his truck, I'd do it.
I'd say in between media 33 at Pocono. Let's shoot you a DM there, Rayom Brothers Racing. We'll see.
Let's do it.
Anyway, we each got a couple of outrights here. Seth, I feel like you are the right place to start though in terms of Martinsville and the driver we all have to be looking at this week.
Went to bed Sunday. Before I laid my head on the pillow, I sent a message to the Discord. Said I'm being on 3 drivers this week. Well, they're the 3 drivers I'm in on. And Ryan Blaney talked to me 5-1, baby. Like after 2 DNFs back-to-back, 2 DNFs in the last 3 races, being the bride.
Vegas too, so 3 really bad weeks in a row.
Yeah. 2 because they were, just mechanical issues. You can't do anything about it. But I think after just heartbreak after heartbreak, we are on the precipice of Ryan Blaney revenge tour 2.0. The way he wraps the bottom at this track is so good that it reminds me of the most dominant racers at their most dominant tracks, like Larson last week running the high line at Homestead, how no one can do it like him right now. Harvick, how Harvick used to run at Phoenix was incredible. No one could do that. That's Blaney at Martinsville for whatever reason. And he's number one in the model, number one in the next gen average finish, 3.5, worst finish of 7th in the next gen era, top 5 out of 6 times. Also number one in the total speed rankings for My Fantasy Racing during that time. Amazing at the comps, second best average running position at New Hampshire and until Michael McDowell got involved. Finished 5th at the All-Star race, almost won Bowman Gray earlier this year, finished 2nd despite having to take a provisional and get into that race. And this dude has regularly been the fastest car each and every week. He's tied for number one in total speed rankings to date this season. They just have to put it all together. The only thing to kind of be aware of here is that Blaney does traditionally run better in that high stakes fall race than he does in the spring race for whatever reason. But still, 5-1 earlier today. And then this week, when I got down on it, he was also out there for a top 5 minus 122 that I'll just kind of throw out right now to also kind of save us some time a little bit later on. But he's been bet down to 4.5-1 at our friends in Pittsburgh at BetRivers, but he's still pretty good compared to the plus 360 over at MGM. So I'm liking the value here. I'm going 2 units on the outright, Ryan Blaney. And we're throwing the monster bet, biggest bet of the season, 8-uniter, baby, 8-uniter on Ryan Blaney top 5. I'm getting down. My biggest bet last season was a 10-uniter on Blaney top 10 parlay at Martinsville. It was our biggest win of the season. Let's keep it going here. I'm all in on Ryan Blaney. Revenge Tour 2.0, Elliot. Giddy up.
Boy, Rod, I don't know about you, but I think an 8-unit bet on a guy who has had incidents the last 3 weeks, including not keeping an engine together in the most stable car that we've ever seen in NASCAR. That's a big bet on a risky driver.
Seth, I just hope that nobody feeds Ryan Blaney's car after midnight because we don't need any gremlins to sneak in there and actually ruin the car.
You can't. The statistical chances of him blowing up again or something like that, it's got to be like that was the first time he had mechanical issues that caused a DNF the first time this season since 2019. There's no way it can happen again, right?
That's what we were all saying last week, and then he was running P3 and he blows up. This could be – it's just scary to throw down that much of a bet. I'm not on the outright because the number's low enough, but also because what if this is a bigger issue? What if there's something with that 12 team that they still can't figure out? They're like, oh, my God, I hope we figured it out. And then they blow up again lap 355 on Sunday.
Do you like the top 5 minus 122? Because I
like that better, but I don't like it for 8 units.
The next closest line to that, though, minus 165. This is all the way down minus 250 places. So I feel great about getting it from our friends over out there in the Berg with you, Elliot. Minus 122. All right, we're gonna see what happens. I think we got some chat reactions there. Cole saying FanDuel race specials. Blaney win to prop with a Hamlin top 5 and Bubba top. I did see this one. Bubba top 10, 22-1. I don't hate that. It's asking for a lot, but I don't hate that. I have a bet kind of similar to this that I'll give out later, Cole. But appreciate riding with us. Nick saying, pardon my ignorance, how much is a unit? So, Nick, a unit is 1/100th of your betting bankroll. So if your betting bankroll is $100, your unit would be $1. If your betting bankroll is $1,000, your unit size would be $10.
I mean, that's typical, but also a unit is whatever you want it to be. Like literally there's so many people that just bank. That's the textbook definition, but some people are like, my unit.
Not a textbook, Rod.
Yeah, you are a textbook. Yeah, no, it's kind of, we use it as our measure of unit, but our unit of measurement. But yeah, it's kind of different for everybody sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. To be honest, there are some of us here that don't really even talk in units because the betting bankroll is so small compared to most people that what's the point in talking in units if I'm throwing 10 cents down on a Ty Dillon?
Hey, I saw.
I'll toss a dime. Throw a dime at that.
Throw a dime at it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some advantage. Like it keeps you within your, within your restraints. And I really believe in the betting allocation, but I guess I'm kind of by the books and a little old school with that. And not everyone does follow that. So I completely understand that, but let's keep with the outrights.
Yeah. Hey, I don't want anybody to have to be calling 1-800-GAMBLER either. We'll keep
Yeah.
it
Yeah. And that's the great thing about it too. You play within your means here and play,
You don't
play
do
with
any shame here.
Yes.
Exactly. But Seth, so you were saying about the Blaney bet in the fall, it's Penske, but in the spring, it's been Hendrick. And the Hendrick card I'm pulling this week for the outright, Chase Elliott in the 9 car. Hendrick's been class this year. 1, 2, 3 in the points right now, but the 9 has been the car that's just been a little behind. They've had 3 top 10s this year, but really not much speed. None of that race winning speed that we're used to seeing from him and the other Hendrick boys. Martinsville's a great place to be to fix that up. In our model, he's tied at the top with Blaney, both at I think like 93%. Big time numbers here. In the next gen, 5 for 6 in top 10s, led more than 1,000 laps in his career here, 1,233. He's led 123 plus on 5 occasions and 64 laps or more in each of the last 3 years. So this isn't just dating back to the last gen car or his win here in 2020 to take himself to the championship board. This is also next gen talent as well. And like I said, Hendrick Motorsports, dominant in the spring race. The 24 has won it twice, and the 5 won it in between in the next gen car. And they had that 1, 2, 3 finish last spring as well. And in terms of Chase Elliott's most recent finishes, last spring he was 3rd. Last fall he was 2nd. Can he complete the countdown this week and get that 9 car back to victory lane for the first time in almost a year? 8-1 BetRivers, also a good place to find that number. Saw it a little lower elsewhere. Rolling with the 9 this week.
What's crazy is that 8-1 for Chase Elliott, on any track seems like an outrageous number, because he is, people forget, and we have such recency bias, not just in this business, but in the entire prediction business at all, that we're like, oh man, Chase Elliott hasn't done well in a while, but we forget that Chase Elliott can do well whenever, and he can pop up and win this race. Like you said, 3-2, the next logical finishing position is 1st. So why not Chase Elliott 8-1? And you're going to be so happy if you put down a $10 bet and win $80 on Chase Elliott to win.
I think units there, Ron.
I think it's such a difficult line with Chase Elliott this week, Elliot. And I think you're right on though, because I mean, he, as you mentioned, like tied for number 1 in the projections this week, one of the few A drivers for us. And like the tough part about this is that Chase Elliott's running position has not been good. Even last week, like he's running low to mid teens most of the race. It ended up becoming like a top 10 car last week, got the penalty, had to make his way back up. I was really happy that I went on the over Ross Chastain, who was like 30th rather than the top 10 bet that I was considering as well. So that was great. But the thing I like about Chase Elliott this week specifically, where's the one time he did have race winning speed? Bowman Gray, direct comp track. So I actually do like this play, and I have a little bit of Chase exposure. We'll talk later on. Rod,
man, I'm hoping that they're sounding the siren down there in Georgia, but in Virginia, easy to remember, home track for a couple of guys, including someone you're on, Rod.
Yes, sir. Home track, home cook, and Denny Hamlin. If not now, when? Denny, I've been accused on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast of retiring drivers over the age of 40, hell, over the age of 35. But for Denny Hamlin, says the guy who's actually just turned 49. Denny Hamlin outright plus 750 rather on FanDuel. That's the best number that you're going to get out there. I think there's a couple other books that have it at plus 750 as well. He ranks out 4th in the model. He's a B+ driver, but I mean, again, he's the guy who leads this entire field in total laps led around this track. He has led over 1,000 more laps than Kyle Busch has on this track. 2,448 laps has Denny Hamlin led on this track. He has got, okay, when you talk about being consistent, when you do things several times over in the short span, that's consistent, right? 38 total starts, 26 top 10 finishes. This spans a very long career, by the way. 20, but that's impressive enough, right? But 20 top 5 finishes. That means only 16 times in the 38 times that he's taken this track has he finished worse than 5th place. He's got 5 wins, leads the entire active driver field in that. So again, this is just a if not now, when. I get it that Denny has not been the best driver this season. I get it that he hasn't been the best driver in the last couple of seasons. Gibbs has not necessarily shown us a whole lot over the last, I'd say, 7 to 8, 9 months going back to last season. But Denny Hamlin's too good of a driver at this track in particular to not break through at least once, right? So on the waning part of his career, yes, Denny, I am retiring you, as I should probably retire as well. But yeah, I mean, but I'll at least give you a win on the way out on a local home track for you. So give me Denny Hamlin outright plus 750.
I'm definitely optimistic about this because we have seen some close to race winning speed from him the last couple of weeks. Phoenix nearly was able to win there. Gets pipped by his teammate right at the last second. Last week, too, it took strategy to get him up there, but ends up he won stage 2, right? He beat out Larson. They were both running up front and then ran really well late in that race as soon as he got the track position.
Yeah, and I know that the crew chief change has kind of done him over, too, as well.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe 4 or 5 races in, they're starting to sink in and get in.
Top 3 car at Bowman Gray earlier this year, top 3 car at the All-Star race last year, and a top 5 car in New Hampshire last year. So the comps are good. Like a lot of times when we're doing this modeling, like some drivers are good at different things, and it's highs and lows, peaks and valleys. Like Denny Hamlin, just straight line across. If you can actually on our model pull up a driver report for every driver, and it shows you what statistics and metrics they're good at and which ones they're not. Denny Hamlin, it's just a straight line. He's so consistent at all of them. So I don't hate this call at all. And another guy I have some exposure to in a later on bet.
Yeah, and Seth, even though we're trying to make the argument against those Penske Fords, you got one more in the barrel for the outrights.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just think this is too long of a number. Something's got to give with Joey Logano, who does not have a top 10 this season, but he is P11 in points and number 2 in freaking average starting position. The dude, like we talked about it earlier, this dude is due for positive regression. This whole team is as a whole. And how about he gets it back going on a track where he's 5th in the IBT projections, 2nd in the Martinsville next gen average finishes, 5.3. He's finished top 10 6 of 6 times in the next gen era, 100% of the time, top 5, 50% of the time. The last time this fucker finished outside the top 10 at Martinsville was spring 2019. You and I were still in college, Elliot. I can remember vividly. 12 races.
The world was an entirely different place then.
Yes.
This is pre-next gen car.
Pre-COVID, yeah, pre-COVID as well. And
yeah, definitely not what I was thinking of.
Also 5th in the total speed rankings in that span. And at the comps, like he was pretty mid at New Hampshire last year. I'll give you that. But dominated the All-Star race, finished 4th at Bowman Gray this season when we were on him for a double top 5 with Ryan Blaney. So I think with all the favorites that we've talked about already, the Chases, the Blaneys, no one's mentioned Larson, Denny, all those guys are under 10-1. Why is Logano hanging out at 11-1? I'm just taking a half unit mid-range flyer on him. I think it's just too long of a number. That's really the reasoning here. I don't necessarily think he might win this, but he's good at starting. You might even get chased out of this one by the time race comes with a cash out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Rod, I agree with this too. There have been a few of those bets and a few of those bets in here tonight where you play the number just as much as you play the driver.
And like I said earlier, this is not just a case of an odd year and even year Joey Logano. For whatever reason, he's actually good here all the time, regardless of whether it's an odd year and whether it's spring or fall. So yeah, this is not a bad bet altogether. And you talked about why the disrespect is because it's an odd year Joey Logano. I mean, the book sometimes pay attention to things too. And they're like, well, there's no way. And then of course the disappointment that we've seen out of him this year, they're like, well, we'll give him 11-1, but that's kind of, yeah, you're stealing it at 11-1, I think.
Yeah, I would agree too. That's getting toward the long shots, and I've got a couple long shots tonight, so bear with me. This is the first one. Bubba Wallace out at 35-1 on BetMGM. Dare we say, is Bubba Wallace back? Kind of like I mentioned with Bowman, first time that we've seen true like race winning speed out of Bubba Wallace on an oval in a long time. And this year too, he's been super consistent. He's led laps in 4 of the 6 races, and he was P3 last week, was able to hold on and still end up with a podium finish there. And Martinsville has been a surprisingly good track for Bubba Wallace as of late. He wasn't necessarily someone that I had my eye on coming into the week, but he has been solid here the last few years. In the model, he's P7, solid top 10 there. P4 last spring, he was the first guy to break up the Hendrick Motorsports party. In total in the next gen, 3 top 10s as well as a P11 in the 6 races. If you like his positional props, he's 4-1 for a top 5 over on FanDuel. Top 10 is at plus money too at plus 120 over on BetRivers. But we know that this driver, the 23, wants to get back to victory lane for the first time since that aforementioned Fall Kansas 2022 race. Could it be on a nice little paperclip short track at Martinsville, Rod?
Yeah, and you know what? I love him for betting, but I also love him more for fantasy too, because then you don't have to worry about whether or not he's going to finish in the top 10, and there's a lot of opportunity for you to get in on him. And there's also a head-to-head that you actually that is good on him too. I saw it. Let me get there. Sorry. Yeah, I saw a couple of head-to-heads on him too, and I think you could take Wallace in a head-to-head, especially the way he's been running lately.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he ran so well last week, and to me, I think this 23-11 team has been just on the cusp of being better than they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Reddick's always been the banner bearer for it, but Bubba Wallace has made some strides, so I really like it. Outright, yeah. I mean, he's going to punch through and win another race sooner rather than later. This has been a good track for him, and you can take him on a lot of head-to-heads that you see out there as well.
Yeah, I like this play, actually, Elliot. I think this is pretty sharp. Bubba comes in 7th in the projections, and if you remember, I can remember very vividly because I was at the simulator. It was Easter weekend, golf with my dad and brothers. I had a Busch Light apple in hand, believe it or not, Elliot. And I had Kyle Larson that weekend. I had an outright on him. And I remember Bubba was qualifying. He was going to be the pole winner. And then Larson went out. He was the last driver to go, and he ends up getting the pole. But Bubba had a rocket last year. He had a rocket last week. I thought we might be able to cash that season win total over for a second. I was like, oh, we might get this. I was like, okay, well, at least Elliott's favorite driver wins. That's cool. And then I was like, oh, no, Larson just wins. But regardless, I like the shot on Bubba here to round out the outrights.
Yeah, that does round out the outrights as we move on to placement props. Largely my category here. We talked about the Ryan Blaney as well. And I feel like we got to open it up with another one where it's playing the number just as much as the driver. William Byron for a top 5 out of plus 115 on BetRivers. It's a minus money number elsewhere. So I think plus money is a pretty good number. Again, 2-time winner here in the next gen. One in the spring of 2022 in what was an absolute snooze fest. Literally put me to sleep sitting in a hotel room in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And also won that 1-2-3 finish last year. 14 starts here for his career. 5 top 5s, 8 top 10s, 360 laps led. I don't love him for the outright because I do think Larson and Chase are going to run better. But I feel like for a top 5, especially with how he's run early in the season, William Byron all but a slam dunk.
Extra seat time this week too. A little extra seat time doesn't hurt. But yeah, I'm okay with the top 5 here. It's not my favorite number, but I mean, he's been as consistent as anyone this season. So I don't, it's hard to hate it that much. I think I'm off Byron a little bit, but it's still, 6 in the projections for us. So the numbers like him.
The thing about Byron is that he starts out hot, right? This is like the beginning of the season. He starts out on fire.
Yeah.
He's doing wins. He's top 5. He's top 10. And then those summer months, he just cools down and then he picks back up again. So you might as well get him now while you're getting plus money for a top 5 while he's still hot.
Yeah. Agreed with you there. Elliot, you have a couple more placement props here. Throw out both your top 10s if you would.
Sure, let's go ahead and keep it rolling. And these are my couple other big gainer long shots for the week. Definitely riskier, but hear me out. Just hear me out first. First, we're going back to the well on Todd Gilliland for a top 10, plus 750.
Oh, is that the number? Is that really? Oh, wow.
That's the number I saw, I believe.
Oh, wow. No, I believe you. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I also.
No, you're okay. I believe it because I think when I wrote it down at first, I had it even longer, and I was like, I don't think it's quite that long.
It's just a great number.
Definitely big numbers out there because he hasn't had the greatest start to the year. His teammates have shown speed, but it hasn't really translated to finishes for the 34 car at all. But he's been able to show speed on this sort of track, and it could be time for the 34 to step up and get there. At Martinsville, P10 in the fall of 2023, P13 in both the fall 22 and spring 24 races. And at Loudon last year, one of our direct comp tracks, he was running top 5 at the rain delay, ended up finishing 12th even in the rain there. So maybe a little bit further down if it rains, but definitely a guy who can still kind of run it up front at this sort of track. And like we said, we've seen Gregson run top 10 this year. We've seen Zane Smith run top 10 this year. So time for the 34 to step it up, that lead car at FRM.
He should not be plus 750. He's 15th in our projections. I think if you're taking a long shot top 10, this is the one this week. Good. This is probably my favorite bet you have this week, Elliot. I think good call out on this. He's someone that I kind of liked putting this together. Like, doesn't have outstanding Martinsville stats, but they're not dog shit. They're all like within the top half of the field for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, Front Row Motorsports has been fast as I try to pull up whether that top 10 bet is quite what it is too. Maybe someone
plus 6. I see plus 650 now, but it probably was plus 750 earlier this week. It's still 7-1 at FanDuel as well, so you can still sniff it around. But I mean, I'm sure it was a plus 750 earlier on though.
Yeah, so that may have been bet down just from this morning when I was looking at it. This one I know on FanDuel was a big number, definitely not as long as the others. Shane Van Gisbergen for a top 10. We were hitting earlier that the road course guys can run better on these tight corners here. It's my moonshot of the week because the 88 and Trackhouse have been kind of embarrassing more often than not. It's taken SVG some time to get to these ovals, and we know that's going to happen. But like you said, the tight corners, advantageous for the road course guys. We talked about the Clash, 9th in the main event and P3 in his heat. Spring Xfinity here last year, he ran P11. And Shane Van Gisbergen's best cup finish on an oval in his career, P12 last fall at Martinsville. Going back to the well on SVG, the guy definitely needs a good run. He's had some bad luck, and he's also just had some clunkers, but this is definitely a place where that 88 could get a little more confidence.
You know, it's funny because Cody always says, too, when we're talking about it on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, that a lot of the guys that are good on road courses are good on short tracks because of the braking, right? You need to be able to work under braking and pass under braking, which is a good skill to have on road courses. And I think we've even talked about it, too, on the show. Those skills correlate into a short track mentality. And, you know, it's not going to take long for SVG to figure it all out, and he's going to be having a hell of a lot better season than he is right now.
Yeah, I mean, it took a little while for Marcus Ambrose to really acclimate to the ovals, but before he left in that 9 and the 47, he had a few good runs on ovals as well as the road courses. Same with Juan Pablo Montoya.
Agreed with you there. I don't think it made it into our banners, but Rod, do you have a top 10 on Josh Berry?
Oh my God, of course I've got it. I am so pissed off that I did not get a top 10 on Josh Berry last week. Got stupid pit.
And you didn't get a banner. Wow.
Yeah, that's okay. Really sorry about that, Rod. I missed that, but I do like it this week, and tell us why.
It's all right because it's a sleeper pick, because a lot of people are pissed off about last week and they think that Josh Berry fell off the face of the earth. I don't know what that 21 car all of a sudden has some life in it. Harrison Burton is doing great things down in Xfinity, right? But he's watching the 21 car actually do great things up in the Cup Series.
Fucking P11's what he's doing.
Yeah, right. That was at the end of that Xfinity race. I was excited for you, Seth, that Diet got into the top 10, but I was like, I need HB to pass him right now. I want my bet.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
No, but Josh Berry's had a couple of great weeks other than last week, right? He started in the outside pole in Homestead, which was fantastic. He won at Phoenix Las Vegas the week before, 4th at Phoenix. So, I mean, this has been a pretty stellar run for that 21 car. And for Josh Berry, I mean, look, last season he finished 16th in that 4 car. And we talked a lot about the fact that SHR, we didn't know where they were in the fall of, I mean, they were pretty much shuttered, right? That all the doors were closed pretty much of their Cup Series rides out there in 2024. So for him to still
it may have even been safe to put him in the shitbox category, honestly, toward the end
100%.
of the year.
Other than Briscoe had some life.
Well,
yeah, but he was in the playoffs. If he doesn't win the Southern 500, they're probably all shitboxes in those last 10.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly,
good point.
Exactly. But he started 11th, right? Finished 16th in that race. Not bad at all. So for me, look, Josh Berry's one of those guys that's going to hang around. He's going to be good at this track. He's going to be good every single week. And you're just going to be like, wow, that 21 car is actually pretty damn good. And you know that Josh Berry in the Xfinity Series was one of the best in JRM equipment out there, right? So, yeah, I don't – for plus 110 for Josh Berry as a top 10 car, I think they're still sort of banking on the fact that it was a bad week for him last week, and they're like, oh, the 21 car can't get in the top 10. Yeah, he can, and he will this week.
Yeah, I mean, he like you said, he probably was going to run top 10 or close to it at Homestead. But just, I mean, Joey Logano even advocated for Homestead widening pit road this week because of how unfortunate that was.
100%.
Let's go to matchups, and been doing a lot of hand holding on this program, a lot of squad rides, if you would. And Elliot, I ain't squad riding on a couple of these matchups with you. I think these are not lines I enjoy at all, and I just have to tell you that up front. But please tell me why I'm the fucking wrong. I'd like to know.
Hey, I understand the lines are not, they're a little juicy. There's no big gainers here in either of these matchups, but this is one that goes along with our outright picks as well as kind of hedges. If you are on Ryan Blaney, they got a matchup where Chase Elliott is at plus 135 over the 12 car. And the 12 car is all the way down at minus 175 in this matchup.
Holy, that's a bad number.
That is way too far of a disparity for two of probably the best 5 cars here that we're expecting, as well as for a team that's had shit go wrong 3 weeks in a row, and for a team that is traditionally better in the fall race than the spring race, and with the 9 usually better in the spring race than the fall race. It's not one that's worth a lot of unit allocation, but it's one of those, especially if you're big on Blaney and you're a little worried, like I am about your big 8 unit there, Seth. A little way to head yourself, get a little bit out there if the 9 car doesn't have a good week as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're 1 and 2 in our projection, so they shouldn't be this far apart. I do agree with that.
They're tied too. They're both at like 93%. I'm certain the decimals Blaney beats
you just always love like betting a head-to-head against the favorite. I'm like, stop. Like,
but that's always. And how many times does the favorite win the race? It doesn't.
More than you think.
More than you think, but enough times that, especially the last couple of weeks, that it's worth the call out here. And
Okay.
this is another Hendrick versus Penske here. This is a toss-up. Both Alex Bowman and Austin Cindric are both at -115. In the model, Bowman P11 with a 60%, Cindric at P16 with a 52%. So it's probably worth about even money here, but a fun little toss-up. And I broke down some spring and fall numbers for both of these guys. For Austin Cindric in the spring race, P33 and P23. In the fall race, 9th and 4th. Really good runs. For Bowman, P11 and P8 in the spring. Then you go to the fall, P32, P13. So that's 2 wins for Bowman in the spring, 2 wins for Cindric in the fall. So give me this matchup when we come back in October. You bet your ass I'm taking the 2 car. But it's the numbers game. Especially both of these guys have also run better than we expected, I feel like, at the start of this year. In the springtime, I'm taking Hendrick over Penske. So Bowman over Cindric.
I like that one a little bit more.
Yeah, those extra 100 laps sometimes do a lot for drivers, right? I mean, there's a lot of guys that need those extra 100 laps to be able to turn in a better finish than they would in 400. So, yeah, it's crazy to think, but when you look at it and you see the stats bear out for one in one part of the year than the other, you have to follow the stats.
I'll tell you what, usually if you guys look at the thumbnail, I usually put like a little clever line under it. And this week it was like, Blaney, Redemption Tour 2.0 or Revenge Tour, whatever it was. I should just put on like, it should have been Kyle Larson or a Hendrick guy, and it could have been Elliott, like hard on for Hendrick, because you got a hard on for Hendrick this weekend, my friend. Let me tell you what, holy cow.
Like Rod just said, the numbers are there.
Yeah, in the spring,
It's safe for the first time in a long time. I'd say it's safe to bet on all 4 Hendrick drivers this week.
Hard on for Hendrick or playing with Penske, baby. That's what it is. All right, Rod, hit us with your matchup, because actually this is one I considered. This is probably my favorite matchup that we're going to throw out there tonight.
Marcus, cover your ears. You don't want to hear this one, because I am picking Chase Briscoe over Christopher Bell. As much, Marcus, as you are a hardcore Christopher Bell believer, I'm with you on most tracks, but not at Martinsville. Average finish for Christopher Bell, 16.8. Average start, 17.0. He grades out as a 56% F on our model. His last couple of finishes, 35th and 22nd. He did have a 7th place finish in the fall of 2023. But again, this is when you're racing for the championship, right? And Christopher Bell's been in that pretty much every year. 16th in the spring. He did win in the fall. I get that, but 20th in the spring of 2022 as well. So Christopher Bell in the spring, not necessarily the greatest on this particular track. As for Chase Briscoe, look, he was in the 14, right?
Yep.
And his average finish was 12.6 in the 14. I am not the greatest Chase Briscoe JGR like backer, but I mean, listen, if he knows how to get around, he's a short flat track guy, and he can pilot this 19 car around at least to a top 10 finish, whereas Christopher Bell hasn't been able to in a very, very long time. So I do like Chase Briscoe's got to shake something off, right? He's got to Taylor Swift this thing and just shake it off and get back into at least the top 10. And if he does,
stay out too late.
He's not gonna stay out too late on the pit strategy. He's gonna make the right call, and he's gonna Christopher Bell. I love it that he's not juiced that much at -105. So go grab it now. TK.
Go ahead, Elliot. I think this is a misprice, honestly. I mean, we have Briscoe rated out to finish 9th. We have Bell 13th. And the one thing pulling Bell up is he is really good at New Hampshire. And he did win New Hampshire last year. He had that weekend sweep, so that drags him up quite a bit. But not very good at North Wilkesboro, mediocre at Bowman Gray this year too. And as you mentioned, just hit or miss. It feels like every time we come to Martinsville, and he had to win. He had to do well in that race in the fall. He didn't have to win it, but he had to do well. So much to the point where it came down to it where Bubba had to drop spots so he could pass him illegally, and then he had to run a fucking wall ride. And so. I'm with you. Like, there are a couple tracks for whatever reason you can fade Chris Bell. Dover's another one that I guarantee we're going to go back. I'm going to fade the shit out of them when we go to Dover. I guess that's the summer, so maybe it'll be a little different, but still, Dover in the spring, usually not good for Chris Bell, and usually not as Martinsville isn't any time other than that one random 2022 win. So I'm with you, Rod. This is a good one.
Yeah, and granted, Chris Bell probably wouldn't have needed to do that last second move if there wasn't the Chevrolet blockade in front of William Byron that he was upset about on the radio.
True.
2 Chevrolets were racing in front of him, and he was really angry about that. They're racing for last, the 2 Chevrolets. If you needed any proof of race manipulation, that they always want the Chevrolets to be helping them out if they can. I feel like you got it right there. But Seth, you made my point with Christopher Bell that in do or die situations, guys will drive differently. Knowing that they needed to probably win, if not run really well, lead a lot of laps in that race, you can run a lot differently than in a normal race where he is already locked in as probably one of the top 3 seeds in the playoffs when we get to them in August or September.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we're going to go ahead and round out the Cup Series markets. I got 2 specials for everyone that I want to throw out. And starting with the winning car number under 11.5. We've had a lot of success with the winning car number bets in the past. Rod has always been a gamer on these. This season, I've had a lot of success as well. I was 3 for 3 on them heading to Phoenix. Flew a little too close to the sun, I think, with a little parlay. Austin Hill also flew too close to the inside wall at Phoenix. That ended that. But I will say my number of over 11.5 was still good in that bet. So technically 4 for 4 if we're just counting car number bets, not the full parlays. But I think it's time to restart that winning streak here, boys. Winning car number under 15.5, minus 124. That's a great number from our friends out in Pittsburgh. Once again, I mean, I forked them over a ton of money. And it was funny. I was even like arguing with them. They gave me a bonus bet out of nowhere last week that I didn't see. And then I didn't see it until like Monday morning, and there were no NASCAR odds to bet, and I didn't bet it. So I was like, I messaged him like Tuesday. I was like, hey, can I like get this back? I extended all the, no, sorry, you're fucked. And I was like, all right, like, I'm just going to go take you for everything this week. Like, I'm going to go throw out some huge gainers. Not your fault, brother. Like, up to the customer service rep. I was like, and this was one of them. Like, you can't throw out this number because I feel like with this, you are getting 4 of the fastest horses in this race, all of whom rank top 4 in our projections. We've talked about Ryan Blaney. We've talked about Chase Elliott. We've talked about Denny Hamlin. We haven't talked about Kyle Larson, but he's also 3rd in our projections. You're getting all 4 of them with this number. Also, you're getting Ross Chastain, a guy who isn't afraid to fuck around and find out on this track, as we know with the Hail Melon, rates out 8th. Brad Keselowski, who's top 5 in average running position and driver rating in the fall, finished 4th, usually better in the fall than the spring, but still. You also get, like, if shit hits the fan in this race too, you get Austin Cindric, who can be up there. You get Noah Gragson, who's 19th in the projections. You get the RCR boys, who, if they steal information, allegedly, they can win. They can win. So keep that in mind. I'm only really afraid of this bet not hitting if a couple people win. Joey Lognao, I'm covered with the outright. Chase Briscoe, that would help me to my future over 1.5 wins, so I can live with that. And the only other one is Byron. And Byron usually likes to do this. So that's the one place I'm shit out of luck if William Byron wins. But if William Byron doesn't win, I'm sitting pretty. I'm happy with it. Let's go.
Not on that 23-11 train, or maybe a little John Hunter Nemechek action there, I guess.
No,
hey,
not.
That was Rod. That was my main takeaway with this bet is you get both the Dillon brothers too. What a value.
I mean, listen, if you want both the Dillon brothers, if you want to do that, double up on their outrights, because that'd be fantastic. But no, look, guys like Tyler Reddick that usually scare you on those other side of this, not good at this track. Like these guys, and Ty Gibbs, I know Nick Wiles. I was sorry, Rod, I got to bring up Ty Gibbs. He's good at short tracks. He's just not good this year. I'm sorry. The junior jinx is real. And that's really what we're going off of. I'm not worried about a Ty Gibbs outright at all. And until he does it, I'll miss. I don't care.
Yeah, that's all right, Nick. I'm with you there. We just did a whole temperature check segment last week on the panic meter, and Elliot and I definitely panicking over there a little bit. I'll round us out here in Cup, and then we'll hit a couple Xfinity and truck bets on the way out. But I'm going with my haters gonna hate parlay of the week, because both these drivers they take their fair share of hate right now out on the internet, as does this particular program, I'm sure, with some of the things that fly around here. So we're going to ride together here on the haters going to hate parlay of the week. Joey Logano, top 10, minus 200. We touched on him earlier. He's done this 11 straight times, guys. I almost think like the minus 200 number itself is like almost fucking bettable. Like that is a really good value, I think, despite it being, minus 200, because that's down all the way to minus 350 at Caesars. He's got to break through for the top 10. I feel great about that. And then this will kind of be turning our attention to the Xfinity Series, and we'll shift gears here. I'm going in the second leg of this parlay. It's Eric Almirola, top 3. This up minus 139 at BetRivers. We're getting combined odds of plus 158 at BetRivers there. I really like Almirola this week, boys. Like, last year when we first came here to Martinsville in the spring, I laid a couple units down on him, hit one of my big Xfinity Series outrights of the season. And he should be the favorite, and for good reason. He won both the races here last year, 298 laps in those races he led. Average running position in the fall, 2.2. Rod, what do you think his average running position was in the spring race?
I'm going to say 1.5.
2.2. Also 2.2. Yeah, trick question. Never left the top 15 in either of those races, though, Elliot. Like, that's a crazy stat, too. Like, this guy is always up there. Also, he finished top 3 in 2 of his last 4 Cup races in the Next Gen era. Average finish was 7.75 during that span in the Cup Series. Nearly won in 2023 fall. I had a top 5 bet on him that we cashed, and I thought we were going to hit an outright potentially that I did not cash. So I was like, oh, man. And let's not forget, too, like Eric Almirola, he's had a rocket all season, including a series best 5.6 average running position in the Xfinity Series. That's best than anyone who's drove 2 or more tracks this season. 9th in points. He is 9th in the Xfinity Series points. He's ran 3 freaking races, boys. Top 3 in all of them. So this line for Almirola, it's minus 200 in some books. So minus 139. That's another line bettable in itself. I am taking the Almirola top 3. I am taking the Almirola outright as well. I'm going to go with the haters going to hate parlay of the week here. Let's go, baby. Jesus saves. Let's go.
Yeah, I was going to make that point too on Almirola. If this was old school, he could fight for the Xfinity title running 2/3 of the races with how well he runs. We're not going to get any more of those Almirola outrights at good numbers. And it's one of those deals where a plus 250 with how well he's run here, a bettable number. I'm not even going to argue with you on this one, Seth.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Some Xfinity picks from a guy, Nick. He likes Creed, Mayer, Eckes, and those are his outright picks. And Rod, I know you're also on one of them. Potentially, if Almirola gets snagged up, I think you like someone else to win here.
That 41 car. What is it about the Haas factory car this year that actually is looking good? Sam Mayer. I am definitely on Sam Mayer to win this particular race. He hasn't had good luck in the Xfinity Series so far in that one car. He's crashed out of 3 of his last 4 races, but the ones that he's been running, 2nd, 6th, 5th, and then 4th in the 8 car as well. But really what I'm more impressed with is the fact that Sam Mayer has actually run so damn good in that Haas factory car. A little bit more than you kind of expected him in 6 races, 4 top 5s, and then he finished runner-up last week at Homestead. Here's the thing. We've been on a short track. We've been on a super speedway. We've been on a 1.5 mile super speedway. We've been all over the place, right? And the guy's average finishing position, 9.2, but 2nd at Homestead, 5th at Las Vegas, 7th at Phoenix, 3rd at COTA, 2nd at Daytona. The only thing really dragging his finish down is that 36th place in Atlanta. Sam Mayer's been knocking on the door, and I think he's about to break through, especially with as good as he's particularly done here on this particular track. So I do like Sam Mayer, just like you, Nick. There you go. We're okay on that aspect, right? Maybe not Ty Gibbs, but we can agree on Sam Mayer to finish well. And I think 7-1 for a guy that's just been on the cusp of a win this season. I'll take that all day.
Very fair compromise, and it'll piss off all the Larson fans too, Seth.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes. Oof.
I have wanted to bet on Sam Mayer like all season, and his numbers have just been like too short for like top 5s. Like even last week, I liked him a lot. I was like, I think he's going to be a top 5 car for sure, but it was like plus 120, plus 125. It's like, that's a lot of, felt like a lot of juice to lay on a top 5 on a guy like Sam Mayer. But yeah, I think he's going to be heavy competition for Almirola. I think it's him. I think it's Sammy Smith. And I think it's one other guy here that Elliot, you and I are squad riding on an outright.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and introduce and then pass it over to you because you got him on multiple numbers. But I think it's the week for Carson Kvapil. Young driver that has really impressed and has run really well. full-time, obviously, this year, running well at places that we don't expect him to run. But then also last year in those limited starts, tailored to tracks that he's pretty solid at and had experience on. His Xfinity debut was last spring here at Martinsville, P4. We damn near saw him win his first race at Dover in the 88 last year, ended up P2, and then at Loudon, closest comp track sort of that we have to here, P5. I think it's the week for Carson Kvapil in that number 1 car. Get this kid to victory lane.
No, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth, man. Like, he is somebody, he comes from the Cars Tour. He's been running that JRM late model, so short tracks are his bread and butter. And, like, it's just so impressive that this guy jumped into an Xfinity Series car for the first time ever last year, finished P4. I remember sitting at the bar with my fiance, Katie, and we were watching this race. And because I remember I had Hamlin rolling, I was just so excited. But I remember we also had a little bit of a gainer on Kvapil, I believe, if I'm correct, that night as well. And this kid is excellent. And I think he and this entire JRM team, Elliott, and organization know that, like, this is somewhere he can win. Maybe outside of Dover, this is probably, and maybe I say like Loudon, but maybe we get a Chris Bell there, so maybe he can't win there. Like, this is really one of his best opportunities to lock himself into the playoffs. So 14-1, that's a great number. I thought we were going to be paying closer to 10, 9-1. I don't think the books have caught up onto him this much yet. And then also top 5 for him, plus 195 BetRivers to this hot looking number 1 car. I'm absolutely there, guys. Like, this is to the point where if you have Bet365, you need to bet it there, because I've seen it at ESPN, like plus 130. I think I saw it at Caesars plus 135. So plus 195, almost a 2-1. I went nearly 2 outrights on this. I want 1.8 units, Elliott. Like, I think Carson Kvapil, if he isn't, going to win this race, I think a top 5 isn't that much to ask from him. I think it's him. I think it's Gator. Sammy Smith's going to run up there, Sam Mayer, but Kvapil feels like one of those cars right in that mix.
Yeah, and you're right about this being one of his best shots to win. I know he's got Almirola in the field to deal with, and we'll have other guys in the field to deal with later, but he's shown he's got speed everywhere, but I especially like him to get that first win at one of his bread and butter short tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. Elliott, you got 2 placement props as well here for Xfinity. What do you got?
Yeah, so we know JRM traditionally runs well here as well. I feel like Justin Allgaier for a top 5 safe bet. It's all the way down at minus 175 on ESPN bet.
Ooh, you're drinking juice.
It's a good glass of juice to drink. I feel like you can't bet his outright with Almirola here. I feel like it's Almirola or it's a long shot. But this top 5 feels like a nice, safe glass of juice to drink on a sunny Sunday morning on the beach. Justin Allgaier, obviously, he's won the last 2 races. Top 5 in 6 of the 9 Xfinity races here, as well as top 6 in each of the last 5, which included a fall win a couple of years ago to get himself into the championship 4. Defending champ, he's feeling good. He's got wins under his belt, was able to fall back into one last week. The good vibes are going to continue around the 7 team. Even if Almirola goes out there and whoops the field, the 7 car is going to be one of the closest ones chasing behind him.
If we're on the beach, Rod, can there be champagne in that glass of juice? Because I don't know about you, but I'm a big Mimo's guy. I
was about to say, fill it with orange juice and champagne, and we are good to go. I'll drink some mimosas on the beach with that.
Dangerous, though. Dangerous. I mean, that, talk about a creeper drink. You get 4 or 5 mimosas in you, you're hung for the day, buddy.
Yeah, but you're also not losing on a Justin Allgaier top 5 bet. I guarantee you right now. Look, it doesn't matter how many mimosas you drink. You place this bet, you're still in a good standing. The thing with Justin Allgaier now, that team, they're locked, literally locked into the playoffs. There's no reason for them to fear the rest of the season. They can try anything they want. They can try any strategy they want. They can throw anything at this race they want to just try to win, right? I mean, it's win, and for them, if they miss the win, then it's a top 5. That's really what I love about the 17 is that even if they miss, it's still a top 5. So Justin Allgaier, this is a good. He's going to finish there, so you might as well win money off of it.
Elliott, I want to throw it back over to you for your final top 10 of the night, but I did want to remind everyone, I have 2 more top 10 bets I'm not going to put in the show tonight just for timing reasons, but they are in my full card. It'll be out in my Betting Pros article. You can also find it in the Discord for the IBT Racing family. That's our premium network over there. You can connect with us in the Discord. Rod, myself, Elliott, all of our family members, Ryan from My Fantasy Race. You're also going to get our weekly betting model and then entered into our bigger memorabilia giveaways. I haven't set a timetable on it yet, Elliott, but I was thinking, when do you think we should do the next giveaway? I was thinking maybe for the 600. Is that when we should give that Joey Lognao autographed polo away, you thinking? Maybe
Maybe we gotta remind ourselves how much we have in the chamber though to give away too, because we got a few things. Got some McDowell stuff, got the Logano stuff, got some other stuff.
Got a Bowman one signed in there as well too at one point. Yeah. So
yeah, we'll have to work that out. 600 is a good time for one, but we might do one between now and then. Still got 2 more months till we hit Memorial Day weekend. Maybe a little spring, Memorial Day, a little summer. Point is, we like to give away stuff. If you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts as well, Josh Berry raced version. We're going to pick from somebody there as well, a little 164th to go out to those helping us on the audio side as well.
Yeah, link in the episode description for both the audio version. If you guys want to rate and review us, help get us up there in the chart so we can catch Rod's fast ass up there, leading the way, and him and Full Tank Phil, buddy, out there crushing it. So help us out there, and then also IBT Racing family as well if you guys want more of our dumbasses.
Yeah, a couple of bets that I'll also have to put in there that were cut from the show. And of course, discussing bets throughout the weekend, having discussion before the show tonight. Like I said, the 3 F1 bets that I won last week, all just stuff that was thrown and talked about in the Discord too. So definitely some other stuff over there.
That's the valuable part. Sorry, Elliot. That's
the valuable part
Please, of Discord is that we have an hour and a half, right, to talk to you guys here. But we have the rest of the 23 hours of the day to converse with you in Discord and to give you these bets and to help you to build your own betting cards. So that's why I love the Discord, is because we get a chance to talk to you about other stuff than we get to talk to on the show.
Mm-hmm. And just kind of on that note too, I did want to circle back to Nick's question about like unit allocation and saying like he consumes gambling content, but woefully ignorant to some of these terms. Like we were talking earlier, and it wasn't even a NASCAR bet, but someone was asking us advice like, do I hedge here? And like I threw out the word hedge, and like I'm not familiar with that term, what that is. And so Taco Boy, I'm going to get you back on that. I'm going to get some resources for that. But it was right before we were going live or getting some questions in like that. But those are the good questions and discussions we want to have over there, man. Like we're not all experts. We're all learning as we go, man. Like I think both of us or all three of us can say like our NASCAR gambling and our sports gambling information and brains have just kind of expanded over the past year. So we like to, kind of share that over there. But Elliot, sorry so much.
No, you're good. All in all too, it's not, us versus you guys or us versus other people. It's us against the books, man.
Greedy motherfucking books. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're going for the books, and we're going for the books here. Corey Day making his way to the Xfinity Series now in the 17. I got him 3-1 for a top 10 over at Bet365. And I know he's ran a couple of short tracks in the truck series and hasn't been spectacular. Last fall, started 31st and finished 18th. But I'll tell you one thing, the 3rd or 4th McAnally Racing truck, with all due respect to that team, that is a hell of a lot different than the HMS 17, especially how it's run this year. 3 races this year for that Hendrick 17 with their 3 drivers. P2 should have won at Phoenix, P2 with Byron, and P4 should have won at Homestead. So this is honestly more a car bet than a driver bet. We know Corey Day's good. We know he's got a lot to work on. That's why he's running trucks and Xfinity and ARCA and Trans Am and anything that Rick Hendrick can get in behind the wheel of this year. But in his starts in the Xfinity Series, which will become much more frequent in the second half of the year as he's prepping for, I'm sure, full-time something next year, this kid's got talent. He's got the short track talent, and this 17 can run well anywhere. Throw it at the Nürburgring, throw it in wherever F1 is, throw it in the track in Japan. It's going to run up there with those F1 cars with how well it's been running. And I think for Corey Day, great place to open it up for a top 10 run here, 3-1.
It's a 5th JRM car. Like, that's what you're betting here, Rod.
It's probably better than that. I mean, it's more based out of the Hendrick shop, and it's on par with the first JRM car.
Yeah, but all the Hendrick motors or all the JRM motors are Hendrick made, right? So it's
but so are a bunch of guys in the field too.
Hendrick
engine program runs a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, when we see it in the truck series too with Raja Carruth, we always know that we can always throw out Raja Carruth for a very, very high finish because it's got the Hendrick name on it, right? He doesn't throw his name on stuff that's going to finish 31st. Like that's you're talking top 10 and top 10 for 3-1. Yeah, I'll take that.
Love it. All right. You guys have a couple truck series bets here I want to get to as well. I have nothing for the truck series. Didn't have a lot of placement options.
Rod, did you have a matchup as well for Xfinity that we wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I guess I could just throw it out real quick. This is the two RCR drivers, Jesse Love. I'm going to take him over his teammate, Austin Hill. We talked about Austin Hill a lot too, as far as he's always one of those guys. He's always so consistent. He's always so great. But the problem is that Austin Hill at this particular track, his average finish, 16.3, 14th, 34th, 21st, 16th, 9th, and 4th. Like, That was 9th and 4th was his 22 year. But since then, he hasn't really had to finish better than 15th or 16th rather in that span. For some reason, Martinsville not good to Austin Hill. But for Jesse Love, on the other hand, Jesse Love's had some pretty good runs just in general this season, right? 6th place last week, 3rd place the week before that, 9th place at Phoenix, 6th at Austin. He won at Daytona. At this track, 12th and 9th are his 2 finishes.
Oh,
so
okay.
Gotta love Jesse Love for this. That 2 car is everything Sheldon Creed wished it could have been when he was driving it.
Yeah, it's like David Ruderman in the old Sponsifier commercial. He loves love, man. We love love this week, not only for the next RCR Cup Series ride, but for this matchup over Austin Hill too.
Indeed.
Yeah. Sorry, Rod. Didn't mean to. I totally.
As soon as I said it, I was like, "Oh, do we want to just cut it for time?" But we got it in quick enough, and
I've been slapping people in the face today. I've been a real asshole, so I apologize. I apologize about that.
But yeah, so we've got some Truck Series bets as well. Rod, you've got an outright, and then we've each got a top 5. So we'll play a little pickleball back and forth here. Go ahead and throw out your outright.
Look at Heim is not. He's plus 450 by the way to win. Not
that was Oh my God!
Wow!
On my part. That is. I'll put that over right now because this is
Elliot.
How
many of those hard
Mountain
Dews?
Twice the banners that I messed up.
Yeah. How many hard Mountain Dews you drank tonight, brother?
Oh my
Jesus.
God! Yeah. If we could get a Corey Heim outright at 11-1. Anyway, that would be.
We'd be betting the mortgage, baby. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm betting your mortgage on that. No, listen, for Corey Heim, plus 450 is what he is. Oh, plus 480. There you go. Via FanDuel.
Yep. I had the wrong book.
No, all good.
No, I didn't. That is a FanDuel, right?
Yeah, FanDuel plus 480.
I messed up on both ends.
The fact that there is a Cup Series driver in this field is ramming the number down on Corey Heim, and that's okay because for Corey Heim, look, each and every week he is a guy that he's not scared of the Kyle Larsons, he's not scared of the Kyle Bushes, he's not scared of anybody out there, right? Corey Heim is an outright winner each and every week, and to have almost 5-1 for him to win a race, it doesn't matter who's in this race. I don't care if Kyle Petty, the young Kyle Petty, jumped down and started driving this truck. It doesn't matter, right? Corey Heim should not be plus 480 at all. I'm not even going to read off any of his stats because if you've listened to any sort of NASCAR gambling or NASCAR gambling content, you know Corey Heim is great in the Truck Series. So plus 480 for him to win, I'll take that all day long because he'll duel anybody.
That's why I wanted to see more placement prop odds because I was interested maybe in a Corey Heim top 5 here or something like that because like stats aren't great for him at Martinsville compared to some of the other tracks for Heim, but like there are definitely some other guys like Majeski I think has some better numbers here in the Truck Series, but plus 480 it's such a decent number, and like I don't know about betting Byron. I really don't, Elliot. Like I always get burned every time I bet Byron in the lower series, so I just can't do it. But it feels like you're going a different way with your bet.
Yeah, and I mean Byron, I think he has won a truck race here before too, so certainly not out of the realm. But I definitely think you're right here. Heim's a good outright bet. This guy I don't love for an outright quite as much, but I love for the top 5, and another guy I wish we'd had top 10s for. But anyway, I'll have faith in Tyler Anker. I'm already talking myself out of the bet before I even start making it, so I should shut up. He's been really underrated this year. Honestly, probably the most underrated guy in the Truck Series. Last 3 races, P3, P10, and P4. And the 10th place was his best race. Led 39 laps in Las Vegas. Really looked like a contender there. And then got caught up back in the field a little bit. Got a little bit of damage, but still rallied all the way back to a top 10 there. Last year, P5 and P8 at Martinsville. Really good track for the 18. I know Ankrum, one of those guys that had a good year a couple years ago, hasn't won in a while. One of those guys that's starting to show some life again as MHR continues to get better as well.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Love it, man. I like Tyler Ankrum. This might be a good way to get back on him. This is a good track for him. Rod, round us out with one of the more DGen bets of the night, please.
This is where the 11-1 came from. This is the right bet.
Okay.
Raise your hand if you were born after 2001. Somebody. Okay, good. You guys aren't. But there
98, are 98 brothers. 98. Let's go.
That's right. There's people that I know that I served with that are actually born after 2001.
Yeah.
Look, Matt Crafton has been racing this track since 2001. He has 11 top 5 finishes in that span. I want a top 10 for Matt Crafton because he's been doing pretty good this season, right?
Yeah.
Last week at Homestead, 9th at Las Vegas. I'm not going to count the super speedways because those are super speedways, but in decent enough oval tracks, he's actually been 9th and 13th. Matt Crafton is a gamer, kids. 12th in the spring of 2024, 13th in the fall, 26th in the fall of 2023. That's unfortunate, but 7th, 5th, 23rd, 8th, right? He had 3 top 10 finishes in a 5-year span, or 4 top 10 finishes in a 5-year span, rather, before the last couple of seasons. He's actually been resurrected sort of this year because Matt Crafton mired in the mid 15 to 20 range, right?
Yep.
This year, top 15, baby. So give me a top 10 at 11-1 for Matt Crafton, the old wily veteran.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Even
we
top
wish
5.
we had the top 10.
You're manifesting it. You're manifesting it, brother.
This is one of those. I agree with you on Crafton here. This is one of those that, like the Gilliland and host of our top 10s, like the Harrison Burton top 10 was getting an Xfinity.
Yeah.
One of those that's got to be on the radar until further notice.
Yeah, I think I might have to the Gilliland one. I'm glad you just put that back in my brain because that might have to be a little sprinkle I add to the card. Gentlemen, what a show! I want to thank everyone riding with us along. This has been awesome, man. Like I say it all the time, but I love all the different communities that we bring together at In Between Media. We have a bunch of content. Whether you're looking for a feel good and a refreshing take on fantasy football, NFL gambling, college football betting, whether you're into PGA betting, we also have an entertainment betting show. But the NASCAR betting crowd, you guys are my favorite type of DGens, brother, because like I feel like you're just like me, homegrown, love betting on cars. And Rod, Elliot, I know you guys are the same way, man. So I just want to shout out everyone for watching, listening with us. The easiest way to support us, the easiest free way to support us, just give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this. If you enjoy this type of content, we're always putting out NASCAR betting content each and every single week here on the channel. Also, Elliot has an article over on the website, and hopefully we're going to have some really cool shit for you guys in the very near future that we can look forward to, man.
Yeah, as well as the Apple Podcast feed now too. If you, like you said, if you don't have the time to watch us, or you're watching us back on YouTube, thinking, "Man, I'd love to not look at these guys' faces this
We're
week."
not pretty. We're not pretty. Like I get it.
You can go ahead to the Apple Podcast feed, leave us a review, giving away Josh Berry 164th diecast race version Dover 2022 to a reviewer there. And like Seth said, Rod, we're coming for that NASCAR gambling podcast of the years. 1A, 1B on that podcast feed.
Bring it. Hey, take 1A. I am not a proud guy. I love competition. I love sharing the spotlight. I love.
Well, you'd get both. You'd be ranked first and second. A little Quinella going for you.
Listen, you guys, I just got to spend an hour and a half talking NASCAR and getting pretty nice and buzzed off of a hard or a hard tropical punch with you guys. I can't even imagine a better way to spend an hour and a half. So yeah, thanks to you guys for listening to it, because I guarantee you, hopefully you have as much fun listening to it as we do providing it.
No doubt. It is always a great time on a Thursday night. Little hard Mountain Dew in the SVG koozie rolling. Seth, what do you got? What are you sipping on tonight?
Oh yeah. I actually did see Nick did ask us, so I'm just going with the old classic Busch Light. We got fishing cans back in, so couldn't find any irons.
You can't put a Jeff Burton koozie on that. You got to go with the fishing can.
Yeah, actually, I lost my Jeff Burton koozie on the golf course last year. So I left a full about a quarter of a beer and everything right on hole 16T. So
got to replace it with a little David Ruderman action or something.
Yeah. We got the IUP alumni koozie. You know, if you know, Crimson Hawks, baby, let's soar. So one more time, just want to shout out everyone listening. If you guys want more of us too, if we're not enough here, an hour and a half, give or take, every single Thursday, make sure you check out the IBT Racing family. Link in the episode description. You're going to get access to our exclusive Discord with ourselves, Ryan from iFantasyRace.com. Also, all our great viewers out there hanging out in the chat. You're also going to get exclusive access to our weekly betting model. We put that out usually every Tuesday mornings when I try to have that out for the fine people. And it's been hot lately. And then we also have entry into our memorabilia giveaways. These are kind of the larger ones, usually autographs, some shit like that. Elliot, you and I will be at Pocono in about a couple months. That we're also going to hopefully pick up some more die casts. I like to haggle some people when I get out there in the in-person world. Like, hey, how much is this? $750? How about $5, baby? How about $5 and maybe a little cold Busch Light if you're lucky.
Yeah, all the tents at the racetrack, good place to haggle. And you also can get a preview of the top 10 of our model and how we break it down. And
yes,
the article comes out Friday mornings. It's already written up on the site, waiting on Seth's approval, and a nice little photo to go along with it.
One more thing. Shout out to our producer, Nicolette. who always making us sound good, making us sound crispy in the back end, cutting up some nice shorts that people can get after us on the internet. And also, she hit some big F1 gainers last week. She's putting out an F1 betting article on the website. I'm pretty sure she was pretty high on our guy Oscar last week. So make sure you're checking out Nicolette as well. She at N Rojo at NRojo5. Am I right on that handle? I think so.
There you go. That's what shows up on our back end here. So that's what we roll with. We got F1 fuckery back next week too.
I'm 0-3. I just need to start tailing this late. I just need to start tailing Nicolette every single week, boys, because F1 fuckery not treating me well. Not treating me well. Wild season in NASCAR. Wild show tonight. We are thankful to all of you for rolling on down the back road with us. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. We'll see you again next time.